and then I'm going to do mine. Okay. There we go. Oh, my slideshow disappeared. Oh no. Hang on. I have it together, I promise. There we go. So, welcome to Wisdom Wednesdays, where today we're going to be talking about frequency, which was very fun to even for me to even hear about too. And I've known some stuff, but this is going to be a fun class. I think this will help everybody to understand a little bit more about their own body. So just a few reminders, class is being recorded. So if you don't want to be seen, then go ahead and shut your camera off and you can listen. And then please keep yourself muted so that we can hear and there's no feedback or other little noises. And then if you have a question, use the raise your hand button in Zoom, because it's super helpful for us to be able to see you guys. So, okay, so we're going to start out by talking about body frequency. So do you remember learning in science class that everything is made up of energy? Everything in the universe is made of energy, magnetically charged particles of energy known as atoms that literally vibrate in a constant motion. So not only do our bodies contain energy, it can be measured and changed. So our cells in our body vibrate, and every organ and region of the brain has its own optimal frequency. Frequency, or cellular voltage, is the measurement of available energy and how quickly that energy circulates within the cells of our body. The greater the voltage within our cells, the faster our body is able to regenerate, heal, and fight off external threats. The lower your voltage, the slower your cells move within the body, which opens the door for pathogens and diseases to set in. So your body, cells, and organs all operate within an optimal frequency range that harmonize with each other. So every organ, every bone, tissue, cell has its own resonant frequency that in combination comprise a harmonious whole. When an organ is out of tune with the rest, then the entire body is affected, which I think we can all with that, called disharmony. It leads to state of disease. On average, the healthy human body has on average a frequency of 62 to 72 megahertz. Sorry, if anybody can hear that, let me know. There's like a timer going off back there. So I'm sorry. So the healthy human body, this is their approximate range of 62 to 70 megahertz. So different things we come in contact can raise or lower that frequency. So for example, if you're feeling under the weather and have the sniffles due to a minor bug, your body frequency might be a tiny bit lower than usual. Pathogens like bacteria, viruses, and disease vibrate at lower frequencies. So as long as you keep your you're no match for disease. But when your frequency drops below 58 megahertz approximately, you're more of a match for disease. So keeping your frequency as high as possible helps you minimize environmental threats. So some cool facts to notice that I found today that I thought were really neat. And they're approximate numbers, by the way. So healthy human body is measured between 62 and 70 megahertz. Human cells can start to change or mutate when their frequency drops below 62 megahertz. 58 megahertz is the frequency of your body when you have a cold or flu. When Candida is present within your body, you vibrate at a frequency of 55 megahertz. 52 megahertz is the frequency of a body with Epstein-Barr virus present. 42 megahertz is the frequency of a body wherein cancer can appear. And when the death process begins, the frequency has been measured at 20 megahertz. So that kind of shows you where your body should be and where it could be at any given moment. I thought they were fascinating. So in addition, our behavior and thought patterns can also influence our body frequency. Negative thoughts can lower your frequency. Positive thoughts can raise your frequency. So when they say positive thinking is powerful, it really is true because it can raise the frequency of the body. So I know for me, when I'm in a stressful situation, I don't feel very good afterwards. And so most likely that has affected the frequency of my body and the way that I feel. So essential oil blends can serve the body balance by amplifying the positive or minimizing the negative. So the frequency of essential oils seems to resonate with our tissues in helpful ways, amplifying in our organs and regions of the brain on the physical, mental, spiritual, and emotional level. They also work within our limbic system to help clear negative feelings, blocked emotions, thus eliminating the root cause of many diseases and conditions. They can be really helpful and supportive in that way. I know that I feel better when I use some of our emotional oils. So oils tend to have very high frequencies when measured. So research shows that essential oils have the highest frequency of any natural substance, making them one of the most powerful ways to raise our vibration. Most of us have heard that rose oil's approximate high frequency is 320. I also found today on research that Idaho blue spruce, which I think you two are probably going to mention, is near 580, which I didn't know that until I looked that up today, and I was like, what? That's almost double what rose is. And I think that oil I was introduced to this year, Tina kept saying, like, try Idaho blue spruce, try it. And I was like, okay, so I would try it, and I love that oil. That is one of my favorites. So keep in mind that essential oils contain coherent frequencies that are several times greater than the frequencies of herbs and foods. So yes, it matters what we put in our mouth, very much so. But the oils can be very supportive to the body frequencies, even more so than the vibrations of food. So it's a good measurable level that people have, researched and tried and measured. So I don't think it much matters personally which oil you choose, as long as, it works for you. So keep in mind all oils have high frequencies. So I like to get to know my oils and learn how my body works with them. Sometimes I'll use an oil in my not that one today, and I'll try a different one. And so sometimes I'll walk up and I'll try one that's on my shelf I haven't tried in a long time. And so I put them on, I get to know them, I get to know what my body feels. And it's easier for me to then go and grab an oil later when I need something specific for my body. So the raises the question, what can we do to raise our vibration when we're low? So I like looking at things, maybe because it's where I'm at in life, but I look at things from more of like what raises my stress level and what lowers it. So I look at things like journaling, yoga, raindrop, putting on oils repeatedly, praying, whatever it is that keeps my frequency at a good level. And I like what Tina was saying earlier, is continuously putting the oils on. Like sometimes I feel like I put them on and I'm like, I don't know that much has changed for my, for my body. And then I'll, applying it again and again can also, help support that frequency where we want it to be. So, so anyway, I am excited to hear what Tina and Kathleen have to say with their long years of learning and teaching about this very subject. So. Here's some of the, here's some of the frequencies of the oils. These are approximate. These are some of the more popular oils that have been, some of our top oils from Young Living. And again, these are approximate numbers, but Tina will go more into, that word approximate.
Okay, do you want me to go in?
Yeah, go ahead.
Do you think we should maybe have, do we want to bring Kathleen Bailey in now? Because I'll swoop in with the latest stuff. I'm not sure if she has some of that information too, but I do know that Kathleen Bailey has some real kind of connected relationship and information regarding frequencies. And I I don't remember it all. I just remember there's a connection to Bruce Tanio and all that kind of stuff. So Kathleen Bailey, are you prepared to come on? And then I'll maybe come on after you.
Yeah, absolutely. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, good. Well, you just took my presentation, Christy, but I'm glad you did, because that's, when I was teaching massage school and teaching my essential oils classes in massage school, that is exactly what I brought to into my presentations, because it's really important to know the frequency of essential oils and how important it is. And another part of that presentation is the frequency of the foods that we eat. They found that, I don't know, what do y'all think? How many megahertz do you think processed and canned foods have? Answers? 0. Okay.
0.
0, thank you. And like fresh produce, frequency 0 to 15 megahertz. Dry herbs, 12 to 22 megahertz. Fresh herbs, 20 to 27 megahertz. But essential oils, 52 to 320 at the time, and now 580, or however Tina wants to deliver that, megahertz. So when you add these essential oils to your everyday process, such as exercise and good nutrition and so forth, you're raising your frequency. Thoughts also have a frequency and have an effect on our consciousness and what happens in our bodies. There was an experiment conducted, and they found that negative thoughts lowered the measured frequency by 12 megahertz, and positive thoughts raised the measured frequency by 10 megahertz. So your negative thoughts are pretty powerful, more powerful than your positive ones, it looks like, according to this test. But I would beg to differ on that one. I think positive thoughts are much more powerful. But that was what they discovered in the test. But they also found that prayer and meditation also increased the measured frequency by 15 megahertz. So meditation is a good thing to do daily, and prayers, however you want to incorporate that into your life. And then when you add the oils to your meditation or your prayers, you're also increasing that frequency in yourself and in the energy that you provide around you. Some of the nurses that I've known, you can walk into somebody's environment and they may not like essential oils. They may be very sensitive to smells, or, it's hypersensitive. But if you just open that bottle, the minute you open that bottle, I remember Gary telling us it's the minute you open that bottle, that energy is going out into the room and into the environment where you're standing. So I know a nurse who used to, or not a nurse, but a PA, physician's assistant, who used to walk around with essential oils in her, her white doctor jacket, lab coat, and just have an open bottle in there. And that's what I did when I went to visit my brother, because he thinks my oils are kind of foo-foo and weird, and he's not real fond of, smells and things like that. So I walked into his hospital room and I just opened my bottle of frankincense and left it open in my purse. And I noticed his demeanor was just really relaxed and very calm. And so I know these things, work, and you do too. I'd like to just share another experiment that was conducted. And talking about Bruce Tanio, Tina mentioned Bruce Tanio, Cheney, Washington. He was the one who developed equipment. Royal Rife is also well known for developing a frequency generator. But Bruce Tanio was the one who developed the equipment to measure the frequencies of essential oils and various other things. And he did some experiments, and they took 2 individuals. The first was a 26-year-old male, and the second was a 24-year-old male. They were both measured at 66 megahertz, and which is right in the frequencies that Christy was talking about, in that normal, healthy homeostasis range, 66 megahertz. The first individual held a cup of coffee without drinking any, and his frequency dropped to 58 megahertz in 3 seconds. He just held a cup of coffee. Coffee's not the greatest thing that we can drink in the world. You know that. It doesn't have a real high frequency. He then removed the coffee and inhaled an aroma of essential oils. And within 21 seconds, his frequency had returned to 66 megahertz. 21 seconds. The second individual took a sip of coffee and his frequency dropped to 52 megahertz in the same 3 seconds, just taking a sip of coffee. And he did not use essential oils. No, they were not used during the recovery time. And it took him 3 days for his recovery to return to the 66 megahertz. So things that we ingest into our bodies. And so if you're drinking coffee, you better be using oils, is what I'm saying. So you can raise your frequency with the essential oils, and depending upon which ones you can Google frequencies for essential oils and find all kinds of things out there. But make sure they're talking about Young Living, so you have some accurate information. I'm sure Tina will be sharing some of that with us. The bottom line is, when you elevate your body's frequency, disease starts to leave. So if you have difficulty in any area of your life, essential oils can help. And the frequency is huge in that, in your thoughts and your conversations and your language. Your conscious language also contributes to your well-being. So let's not forget that. I'll know my mantra is thoughts are things. So make sure that when you're using oils, and Gary always said, when you use your oils, tell them what you want them to do. Talk to them. Tell them what you want them to do. So if you want them to increase your frequency, if you want them to heal some part of your body, go for it. Tell it what you want it to do. Take that white angelica, put a drop on each shoulder, and protect yourself from anything negative throughout the day. There's all kinds of ways to use essential oils for emotional, physical, and spiritual well-being. That's me. That's it. It's all yours, Tina.
I love it. Thank you so much. I can't see myself. Can other people see me when I'm talking?
Yeah.
Because I'm just seeing the PowerPoint and I'm seeing your face, but okay. Oh my gosh, I love it when we all share, because we just like remind each other of things, and it triggers memories and teachings and such. And so I love that, you shared about Royal Raymond Rife and all of that information we used to share like at every presentation. But it reminds me of like a story. I always feel like a story is a great way to share information, because it's like, what does this actually look like? Okay, I've used Young Living's oils. They're very high frequency. I feel them when I put them on. We see when we walk into a room and we're wearing our oils, or like what you were saying, when I opened a bottle in the room, or when our good friend Robin would carry them in her pocket in her white coat at the hospitals, we would just watch people be affected by, it's the frequency. I always say, like, people say, well, how do you find people that like the oils? And I'm like, are you kidding me? They connect with them on a frequency. You're wearing them and they're connecting to them. And one of the things that happens in my life on a daily is I'll have that connection with someone and they'll say, what is that? And you and I, and some of us that use oils, we know what that is. But when it's someone new, they are connecting to the frequency of the oils, right? That's what they're connecting to. And so I start like this. I say, well, you're connecting to a frequency, and I'm just going to warn you in advance right now, you're about to enter a whole new world of wonderful things. And they just start like, they're just like laughing and enjoying the conversation. And, it's just like, it takes you into a spiritual realm with them, a connective realm. And it's interesting, the people that will pick up on that. I know some of us see it with our children, animals. They don't have any information to decide like what it is we're sharing with them, but always watch for those people that are picking up on the frequency of oils you may be wearing or using, because that's information, right? That's information that maybe that's a person you should be connecting with. Maybe this is a divine appointment for an anointing. Okay. So,
honey.
Yeah.
Can I share a short?
Well, can I finish my presentation and then we'll do shares?
Yeah, it's
or is it
literally
about that?
exactly what you're saying right
Okay,
now.
go ahead then. I have to hear it.
So one of my angels, I think Cheryl Von Flew, would do events down in Imperial Valley, Yellowstone Trail, like right at the border. And she said that she noticed every time she would diffuse, I believe it was Idaho blue spruce, all of the young teenage boys would come her direction, having no idea why they're standing there at her booth.
I love it.
You know?
Well, and so some of us on this call may not know, or this Zoom may not know, that blue spruce is very helpful for the male hormones and female hormones as well. So, I mean, I hear the stories all the time with the ylang ylang being sort of coming across almost like an aphrodisiac.
Right.
So I think blue spruce has some magic that way too.
Yeah. And also, honey, what I loved about, or I love about what you're saying is, you know, when you are sharing Young Living, of course, none of us have to share, but many times we're sharing without even realizing it because we're wearing it. And so someone comes, you remember when we would always say, look, if someone comes up to you in the cash register line and you're just waiting to check out, and they say, oh my gosh, you smell great. Like, no, really, you smell great. Oh, well, if you'd like to learn more, here's my, phone number. I mean.
Yep. What I eventually did was I said to myself, if somebody asks me or they talk to me about essential oils, that it's my connection that I'm supposed to share with them.
The divine appointment.
It's a divine appointment. Yeah. So I love that we start with that.
Yep.
Before I get into the body of the work I'm about to share, that's all fun and exciting with new information that I think you guys are going to love, I want to just tap into something that's coming up in, my mom could tell you, September. And we are doing, we do this, these classes, and many of us have attended some of them, but this one is going to be really special in September, and it has to do with sound and vibration and the oils frequencies. And it's going to be held in Roseville at my mom's house. And if you have taken one of our raindrop classes, the teacher of this course will allow you into these classes. So if you are liking this information and you want to so I had someone in the group test say, how do I check my frequencies? I would love for them to come, and I can share some things with them about that. But all of us, if we're alive, are resonating in a patch of frequency and then around between 62 and 72 megahertz, unless we're sick, and then we drop. Our frequency drops. So we're not alive under like 25 frequency, basically. So that's the thing that Laura and I love so much about sharing the oils. You almost don't even have to know how to use them, since they all have frequency. You can apply them on the feet. And the story that I was going to share, that's a personal story with my family, is that my son, at that time, it's interesting with the pandemic recently, but this was back when H1N1 was around. And at that time, there was a medication that they come up with. It was like Tamiflu or something. And there wasn't enough of it. And anyway, if that was a choice that you were going to make for yourself, it wasn't available for everyone. It went to the medical professionals first because they were at the front lines. And then that was the only thing that was being offered by the Western medical world at the time. So my son had been exposed. He was 19. He came home and he was tremendously ill with all the symptomology. And so, of course, we were getting advice about coming in the next day or, going someplace to have him checked or what have you. But in that evening of just giving him support around this, not being a medical doctor and just wanting to support my son's health through the evening, we just applied oils to his feet to raise his frequency, because we knew when he wasn't feeling well that it was dropping, right? He wasn't feeling well. So what I found was I would apply thieves to his feet, and I would choose like peppermint on his stomach, and then that would cool his body temperature a little bit. And then he would get to a place, and thieves on his spine and peppermint on his spine. I had a carrier oil because those are kind of hot oils. And what I noticed was he would fall asleep for a while, maybe like 45 minutes. And then he'd wake up and it would be like miserable again. And we would do it again. And then he'd fall asleep again. And it was all night long. Basically, I think we did this 6 times. And it was very telling because he was old enough to describe to me what was happening. So like with a baby or a younger child, they might not understand what's happening with their bodies, but he knew what was happening with his body. He knew how he was feeling. And so it was like really a lesson in, what do we have to support? Of course, we had them hydrated, we had them comfortable. We were diffusing oils in the room. And so I just share that because it's really like what you have. If I would have had a bottle of lavender, I would have been putting that on his spine and his feet and his stomach. If I would have had, it wouldn't have mattered what I had. But it is nice to have a set of oils. And I'm still a big fan, even though you can join anyway, I'm still a big fan of joining with a set of oils if you can. Anyone that's inviting you to this class, or you're watching this class later and you have a friend that may have some oils or know where to get them, ask them about a small set of oils that you can have in case you have a family member that ever could need those things. Applying them to the feet, applying them to the spine, the stomach, having a carrier oil around like V6 or olive oil or something organic, fat seed oil to soften the heat of it after you've applied it, or even before you've applied it, is a great way to just kind of do that. And I just want to share that because it's not so technical. The reason Laura and I love this slide so much, it was so simple to understand to just apply them, right? So, but the technical side, first I want to just show you this. This class is coming up, and it's a vibrational neuroendocrine center facial beauty harmonics class. And if you've had even our home version style teaching of Raindrop, it would be easy for you to attend these classes. You would be allowed to attend. You wouldn't have to have a prerequisite. Here's a picture of, I don't know if you guys can see this. Can you guys see this? Because I can't see what you can see. The neuroendocrine centers, right? So anyway.
No, we can't see them.
Okay, I have no way to show that to you because I can't see what's on the screen. So thanks for a PowerPoint up. But if you want to see it, I guess I can post it when we post the classes. We can post this picture because I can take a photo of it. But the point is that our soul energy emanates inside of us, and it actually emanates outside of what most of us can see in our physical bodies. And what's interesting is when you take your hand and you place it right over your body, you come in really slow, like say over your heart, you can begin to feel a heat, a vibration. And the oils address like all the layers of the vibration of your body, all the way through into the inner self of your body, the molecules of your body, all those pieces. So that's what I love about it. I don't really know everything about all those layers, but I do know that they're all affected in a positive way. And so it's very, very interesting as we get into the controversies of frequency in essential oils. And this is what the whole controversy is about. So for instance, the 580 megahertz, I actually heard Gary Young say at one point, because I was very curious when that came out and he was still with us. And I was with him someplace because anytime he was coming to teach, we were trying to attend. And he had said, by the way, that's not an accurate statement or something like that. And I was like, oh my gosh, what is he talking about? I really wanted to know what he was talking about. So the thing that's interesting, so if anybody ever noticed that we have this list of essential oils that have frequency, and then we've never added to that list. Basically, we haven't added new oils. We don't have all our oils listed with frequency. And so there's a reason for that. And this is the reason. The reason is that in science, if we're looking at science, they like things to be the same every time. Okay. So if, for instance, you were to take an essential oil, say rose, and you were to put that rose oil in the freezer, and then you were to measure the frequency with like a Royal Raymond Rife machine, which I actually have one of those machines, or, some way to measure the frequency, it would not read the same number frozen that it reads at room temperature. And that's why it got controversial. So I think possibly maybe somebody did a frequency reading of blue spruce in a warmer environment, and maybe they came up with that frequency. I'm not really sure because I don't know who that person was. It was just something that sort of got spread like wildfire, but I never knew the source of it. So we do know that our oils have frequency, but this is the interesting thing. So basically the newer information about frequency and essential oils is even, I think, more exciting. So what they have found in science with our oils and what Young Living Research Department is working on is that the essential oils, when applied, they affect the molecules and the receptor chemistry of it. So basically when an essential oil goes in the body and there's a receptor for any of the molecules in that one oil, say like lavender has 280 constituents that are recognized. By the way, there are some chemistry in nature that we haven't found yet. So there's probably even more, but these are the ones we can identify. So in our gas chromatograph reading of different constituents of lavender, let's say there's around 280 constituents. Now, some of those constituents activate receptors in the molecules of our human body. So that's a lock and key system. So when that happens and the oils activate that on the molecular level, some of those constituents are activated that way. What happens is it affects an activity in our nervous system that is measured by frequency in science. And that's with our oils. So what happens is, and it's consistent every single time that happens. So let's say there's a constituent, a sesquiterpene. Okay, we know sesquiterpenes are in like frankincense, for instance. That oil goes in and there's a receptor, say, in the brain that a sesquiterpene can activate. So in that molecule, and that becomes an action, a live action that molecule can now work. That can be measured every single time we use that frankincense. And that is scientific. So that's the exciting part about the science and frequencies of essential oils. So I hope people are really excited about that, because I know I am. So Michael Buch was the one doing that research, and we know he has recently passed away.
Love you, Michael.
Yes, he was so amazing. He was still a little on the Western medical side, but it was so great because he would make things over the counter, you know, compliant. We could say the word pain relief cream because of him, you know. It was so fabulous like that because he could kind of work both sides. And then, you know, some people would say he was maybe a little more on the Western medical side than some of us wanted him to be. But I think he was a great asset and a beautiful man. And I loved what he did while he was with Young Living. Let's see. So basically these molecules in essential oils, they're phytomolecules. So they're from plants. And what's interesting is they have an exact structure, exact to receptors. So this is a part of a bigger plan in my book. I think, you know, this is like part of creation on a level, you know, right? Because it's exactly what fits in those key lock systems. These phytomolecules that come in and activate receptors are exactly correct. So I find that fascinating. And I think that there's something really special about understanding that aspect. And then what they do is they are basically the chemistry messengers that bind to this receptor. They lock in that system, they create that action of what that molecule's job can do, right? So it's an aromatic messenger that we have with essential oils. When we smell them, there's an action. When we apply them to our skin, there's an action. So this is an interesting thing. So like one oil, say peppermint, when inhaled, those molecules may go into the brain and they may help some molecules in focusing. They may help, if you were to use them, they may work with molecules in your body that helps with your tummy actions, right? So trying to be compliant here. So we know there is this action ability with the oils that actually take place, and that can be measured. So this is the quote from Michael Buch that we can love, and this we probably should put in a written form. We can do this. So quoting him, "We are more impressed about frequency generated in the nervous system after molecules bind to specific receptors that were designed to receive them. It creates frequency in your nervous system that is an electrical impulse, precise frequency every single time." So that is what literally is blowing the minds of the scientists that are working, that they call it looking at the clinical frequency. Okay, so yeah, I don't know if when I'm speaking that some of it sounds, there'll be some questions in here. So how do we get our frequency read was a question that I saw in the chat. So I mean, for me as a working in healing work, I love to actually teach the class, and Laura's got her hand raised too, where I show people how they can go in and actually read that on a vibrational level. But if you want those numbers, those specific numbers, I mean, I have a $20,000 machine that does that, but honestly, if you're sick, you're probably, under 60 megahertz, I know that we were sharing those levels. The whole research behind the Rife machine was based around this research that Royal Raymond Rife did about health in general. He saw that when he interviewed people, and he had this clinic, and it was like it was an amazing place that you heard about for years from so many different practitioners, that people with cancers had specific types of frequencies, and people with candida had specific types of frequencies, like in a certain range. And he wanted to know what would change that, because people who were well had higher frequencies. And so his thing was like, well, how do we raise a frequency then? Because they're not going to be sick. I don't have a single sick person here with a high frequency. So that's why it was important that Kathleen Bailey shared about the high frequency foods you put in, the high frequency thoughts that you use, the prayer work you do. All of these things kind of come together and they support the frequency in your body. And if you didn't know how to take care of yourself, you could just make goals of raising your frequency by doing those things, right? So it really helps you to understand what raises your frequency. And I will attest to the fact that, like Christy, I will use essential oils in the moment I feel my frequency dropping. And Christy and I both have been on a journey of, in the past, in a journey, conscious language, of, immune system challenges in the past, right? So we're kind of paying a lot of attention to dips in our wellness. And the minute we start having dips in our wellness, we're thinking raindrop, we're thinking applying oils to ourselves. And in the moment, literally, I mean, do you guys have an oil when you're in your vehicle? Do you have an oil when you're going into an office to deal with some kind of confrontation? Do you have an oil, like what Kathleen Bailey said, like set an intention? So let's say you didn't have Valor, but you had Sacred Mountain. Maybe you say to Sacred Mountain, I'm just gonna take a drop of this. I have this feeling in my heart that I have this confrontation today, and I'm just gonna put this on, and it's gonna put a barrier. Maybe I'm gonna connect into my higher power and bring that in and just have this around me and feel the shift. Breathe it in, have all that emotional balancing coming in, so that when I go to deal with the situation, I have protection, like with White Angelica or Valor or whatever oil you have on hand with frequency. Because what are you doing with your mind? You're charging, you're telling that it's actually, there's a whole week we should actually do a quantum physics class, because there's actually great research around when you think something forward, it actually does affect the chemistry of that. So that's a whole other thing. So I think how you get your frequency read is you start reading your own frequency. You start knowing what feels right to you. And if you're dropping, what helps you raise it? Are you hydrated? Are you rested? Are you eating well? Are you putting high vibration foods in your body? Are you thinking good thoughts? If you're not, this is a process that I've been working on for not a long time, since I met Kathleen Bailey. Conscious language, conscious thoughts, bringing in emotion, happy emotion to all of that. And that affects everything. So, on the reverse side, you might notice that if you're ruminating in negative thoughts, you could be like spinning your health a different direction. So it's just an idea. Laura, you had your hand raised. What was the question?
Oh, you were talking about the receptors, and that reminded me of the cannabinoid receptors also. So
I'd love to segue into that.
Right. And then, honey, I don't know if you've mentioned that, you can find someone who owns a $20,000 Royal Raymond Rife frequency generator, or find someone who's going to charge a lot, or just know that every time you use the oils, you're raising your frequency that way. Do you remember, Tina, when someone had texted in a group, help, we're at Disneyland and we only have these three oils. Which of these oils do we use for our headache? And they were not any oils you would ever think to use for a headache or whatever. And everyone's response was, any of them. They're all going to help. Anyway,
Yeah.
yep,
I love that.
yep.
Yeah, I think that's fabulous because you know, how many times have we used something and then what we have on hand was something else and it helped too. Okay, so my favorite
Grapefruit
oil.
raindrop. Grapefruit raindrop. Okay.
Grapefruit raindrop. Yep. Whatever oil you got, drop it up the spine, put it on the feet. For me, like the one thing that was when Kathleen Bailey shared about this blend called Thieves during the time of the Black Plague, the thieves didn't get sick. It's kind of a powerful oil blend these days. It's kind of a hot cinnamon, whatever, kind of spicy red hot like oil. But I was like, you mean to tell me if I use this oil, I don't have to experience like a soreness, you know, that you can get around immune system, you know, dips in your wellness. Because for me growing up, I had a lot of that. And that was like, for me, I would buy a kit of oils just to have that as a healing possibility, highest potential, right? And what one day that was happening, and I was like, okay, I want to prevent like this dip to, you know, keep it from getting worse. And I didn't have my Thieves, but I had lavender, and I rubbed it on the outside of my throat, and I had an amazing transformation with that process. And it was so funny to me. I was like, I would have never thought to put lavender on the outside of my throat, you know, for my throat being sensitive that day, you know. So but it helped me. So it's important, and I'm sure it raised my frequency, and maybe that's how it worked, right?
Thieves
Maybe
is
it just raised my
150 on the
frequency.
megahertz scale.
What is it?
150
Yeah.
Thieves.
So
Yeah,
if
that's
a
high up
healthy
there.
body is 62 to 72 megahertz, and you're putting on 100. Now, by the way, people will ask me, how long will that last? You know, how long does your body take to use that much frequency? So we don't know, you know, but you can tell because you start to feel that drop again, and then you just apply more, right? Or Gary will say, if it's not working for you, try a different one. You know, he said, get an oil change. He goes, and there's, what did he say? If you don't know which one to use, just get them all and try them all.
I don't remember the oil change one.
Just get an oil change. So he was so much fun to deal with. And honestly, this was the thing that most of us share, I think, about Gary, that got to hear him speak, and that even watching his old videos, which by the way, sometime we should have fun with that, because I do have some really great old stuff. But the old stuff is still as inspiring as it was the first time I heard it. And it's still new information to most people. And, but he had this way of connecting with plants that you can't even describe. And he knew things about essential oils. Like I've even heard like these specialists talking there say, well, Gary really felt like essential oils had an enzymic activity. And, you know, I think he was right, you know, like 15 years later, like he was very intuitive with the oils, very intuitive with plants. He understood how they worked. People would, you know, challenge him on different things. And it turns out they pretty much bring to balance everything in your body. And if they're doing more than that, they're usually detoxing you, you know? So, I mean, it's maybe a healing crisis at moments, but for the most part, I mean, they're just so supportive. And I love Young Living specific because you can go have these experiences firsthand at many of their farms around the world, which many of us have done. And there's actually a frequency to the farm. There's an energy to the places and people that actually work with these plants. And when you're there experiencing that, and then you're using the oil, you're like, this is what I'm feeling. It's because, you know, these plants, when you're there on the farm, you're communing with them. You're communing with these trees. You're communing with the whole experience. And there is actually a prayer when these seeds are planted. I mean, they pray the seeds when they plant them, they water them with intention, they grow them, they distill them with intention. And that's all in that bottle. And so I just think that's really, you know, I'm sure there's some other places that do that, but I know Young Living does for sure. And then I can go see that for myself. And I just find that is rooted in truth. And I know that that's what draws Chrissy to Young Living. I know she's tried lots of oils and none of them feel like Young Living. none of them feel like this when you use them. So yeah, are there any other, let me see, there's some other questions here. 12 new messages. I need to figure out how to read them.
Cannabinoid receptors.
Oh, so the cannabinoid receptors. So by the way, there's lots of food and herbs and, oh yeah, right, Barbara, that help. So the human body has a cannabinoid system in it. It's actually called an endocannabinoid system because anything that activates the receptors of that system is considered a cannabinoid. So it just so happens that hemp has cannabinoids, but so does echinacea, and so does like lots of fruits and vegetables and different things we eat all the time. Clove activates that receptor as well. So just understand that. I always misunderstood that, and so I always like to share that. But if it activates receptors, then it works with that system, if that makes sense. And that system is a balancing system. It's a what do you call it? It creates, there's a word for it. It creates a balance with every single organ system of the body. So your digestive system, your cardiovascular system, your all the different like endocrine system, so your hormonal system. So that's why we like to work with anything that activates that system, because it's balancing you. And that's what that system's job is to do. And that's why we love Young Living's CBD products, because they're truly tested isolated. So there's no THC. So you get all the benefits of the phytonutrients that they have without any psychoactive results. And some people, are all about the psychoactive results, but I like that our company doesn't do that. And I'm actually allergic to that specific molecule anyway. So I'm really happy that we have that available, and that makes us have homeostasis. Thank you, Merle. Was it Merle or Marie? Yeah, thank you. Homeostasis. That's the word I was looking for.
I have a question.
Yeah.
I love the CBD. I really do. But there's sometimes when I'm like, do I use it at night? Do you use it in the morning? Am I going to feel way too relaxed in the morning when I'm trying to get up? So like recently I've been using it in the middle of the night. I don't know. Like I'll wake up and I'll be like, oh, this sounds good. And I'll just use some CBDs. But when do people normally use them?
Well, I will say this. If you're someone that uses the CBDs at night and you can't sleep, don't use them at night. I've had like say 2 people out of 10, that's the ratio, 20%, where everyone is like, these are fabulous. My life has changed forever. And then I'll have that one person, one's in the group tonight, that's like, I'm going to choke you because I was just up all night and now I'm going to have the worst day of my life. I'm like, please try this one more time, but do it in the morning, so everybody's different, but I will do what you're doing, because sometimes I kind of like if I get up, I have it in my bathroom. I like to take it in the morning for me. And I figured out once it took a while for it to bank and affect me and feel like this calm come over like almost all day. And then once that bank happened, which was a few weeks, and then 3 months into it, it was really like a new bank of having a bank of it in my body. I learned how I felt, so that I know when I could use some more or less. So that's how I figured that product out. And I know that's very not scientific, but I'm somewhere I'm usually a 750 or like 3/4 dropper of the 1,000 milligram. That's usually what I am. And sometimes if I feel like too relaxed, like so relaxed and laid back that I might watch movies all day, then I might bring it down to 500. But it isn't like I'm high. It's just that I'm actually relaxed and calm. I'm still focused though. But it's just like, I don't need to get that done, do I? If I get like that, then I'll be like, I might do a little less CBDs, but I think it's better for me in the morning. But I can wake up in the middle of the night and be like, I can use a little of this, buy more, so that I'm feeling when I get up in the morning kind of thing. I'm a big fan of the topical, the balm, the dropper under my tongue, which is considered topical, and you shake it up beforehand. And then also the roller is amazing, that calm roller. I have lots of people who only use the calm roller and they swear by it, and that they stick on the brainstem and it smells amazing. And I don't know how other people feel about it that's in this group. I know for me, it was a big deal for me to be using CBDs because I had a whole preconceived idea about CBDs, and I was leery of them. So I'm the biggest fan in the world now that I really understand them. And if anybody wants to have more information, I wouldn't mind talking with them privately about it.
I wonder if there's any frequency testing with the CBDs yet.
Yeah, I'm sure. Well, there are essential
That'd be
oils in those
interesting.
bottles, so we know that there's frequencies in
Yeah.
there. Yeah, you would think so, right? The isolated cannabidiol, I don't know, but we add. So what's interesting about our CBDs, if you guys don't know this, is that full spectrum plants or products are typically thought of as the best products out there, because really what they're saying is all the constituents of, say, the hemp plant, 113 constituents, activate together that communication with the receptors. And that's true, they do. What we did was we took very specific molecules of essential oils, and we just took cannabidiol, separated it, and added the spectrum, the full spectrum, but have them chosen for their specific qualities. And they now are the full spectrum or smart spectrum that activate that receptor. So we turned up the volume of the receptor. I think they work even better, but I just like them because it's the clean part of it all. And it's, I could go on with it. This should be a CBD class, because I could go on with the testimonies for all day.
And honey, I think this is a good transition though, because from what you were teaching us today, which I never even knew, our bodies have essential oil receptors, which makes sense. I mean, hello, like I guess maybe I knew that all these years without even realizing it. And then of course it's the same concept in terms of CBD receptors in the body. And then you mix the essential oils with the CBDs. And to answer your question, Christy, that's a great question. And I wouldn't know anything about how to use our CBDs if it weren't for Tina. So everyone here, reach out to Tina. No, I'm just joking. Any of us, but you have to ask these questions. And like, that's also why I encourage people, the angels, to post these questions in our Company of Angels Facebook group, or whatever team group you're in within the Company of Angels family. So I wouldn't know any of those answers either had I not asked Tina and posted in the group. So Christy, just a quickie for you. I've learned from Tina, use it in the morning. I mean, I think for everyone, use it in the morning. And then at some point you can try at night. And if you find that you're not sleeping, then maybe not use it at night. But I have also found that, yeah, if I don't use it in the morning and I use it later, then I will have a hard time sleeping. However, there are times where my body is in like extreme discomfort. That's the word that we use to be compliant. we won't use the P word. And at that point, I actually will use, I don't know, maybe half of or quarter of a 1,000, so 250 milligrams. And so the next thing I know, my body is out of discomfort, and now I'm able to fall asleep. So it's just like the oils. When we don't know what we're doing, you just do it, and you learn over time, and you listen to that innate healer, mother healer in you. CBDs, just like the oils,
Yeah.
Thanks, Laura. Laura's one of the people that was not so happy with me the first time she tried them.
Really?
Well, and I was so happy because she will tell you, right? She's going to tell you how she feels. So
why wasn't I happy?
And I needed her to do that because I ended up with another person that happened with, and I knew what it was because Laura trusted me enough to try it the next time in the morning and see. And then she was like, oh, like kind of like when she found Progestins Plus.
They truly give you your life back. Progestins Plus and CBD and our CBDs. Yep.
Yeah, our Progestins Plus is our kind of a support to the female world, and it's just such an easy product, and everybody seems to do really well on it. You use it right on the neck, and it goes right into your bloodstream and just supports, it's a precursor for all the female hormones, and it's very gentle and it's delivered in an amazing way, and you actually feel the results from it very quickly for the most part. So yeah, that's another product. So how about some more questions? Are you, anybody seeing any questions I should answer on here?
I asked one that had nothing to do with.
Oh, what was it?
Well, I wanted to know, like,
Who's
I've always
cooking
wondered,
dinner?
can you use does anybody use the CBD drops on their skin?
My mom does. Mom, you want to talk about that? Oh, she with us still?
Are you with us?
Kathleen Scott.
Did
I
you-
have.
Gia, you use it topically?
No, that's Sandy. I have.
Andy.
Oh, Sandy has?
Hi.
I have. I haven't done it in a while, but okay, I'll try to be compliant. I mean, I don't know how to say it. I'm just gonna say it. So sometimes I get sensations that are not the best. I'm not talking about pain. I'm talking about kind of like a numb thing that happens with my nervous system.
Uh-huh.
And you know, a few little trick items have actually relieved it. And the CBD drops are one of them.
Mm.
Another one is, oh gosh, that little cream that comes in a little tube and it starts with a P, and
We can say pain relief cream.
no. It's a Young Living one. It's made for women.
Pregnenolone.
Oh,
Is that the one?
is it Regenolone? No.
Yeah, yeah,
Regenolone?
that, I mean, it's just like really bizarre. Like, wow, that did it.
That is, it's so funny because that is a, Robin loved that cream so much and she turned me
Yeah.
on to that.
So sometimes I get that numb thing here. I mean, I haven't been getting it lately. I think my nutrients are balancing out, but
Where do
Yeah.
you get it?
oh, I'll get, I could get a variety of places in my body, but shoulder, neck, side, hip, leg, you know, different.
Yeah,
Can we get
that,
everybody on-
that's a
can
good,
we
I
get
always
everybody
forget
on
about that
screen?
product. It's fabulous, that Regenolone.
What was that, Kathleen?
Can we get it there? Thank you.
Oh.
I just want to see everybody on screen, see, we can see who's talking.
Yeah, I
See,
like that.
But
I pace myself.
the drops worked on that too. And, okay, I think I've used it if there was actual pain.
Sandy, you know
My
you can say
personal
pain.
experience, I'm not saying it's, you know.
Extreme
that's-
discomfort.
steady.
Oh yeah,
No,
that's your
no.
personal experience.
We
I think
can
she can
say
share it.
any word we want if it's our story.
That's right. We're just
That's my
conditioned, though,
story
aren't
and
we?
I'm sticking to it.
Yeah, Sandy.
Yay.
Thank you for that. That's so helpful. Okay. Barbara likes the serum. That serum smells like syrup to me. It's so amazing. And I love using, so we're one of the first companies that come out with CBDs for the skin, like in terms of skin beauty. Yeah. So by the way, that class that's coming up on the Harmonics, and I can see if you can see this. Harmonics.
Oh, yeah.
There's a facial beauty harmonics. And what's cool about that class, although she's going to do the light one, and she'll have the tools there, you guys get to use them. You'll basically get a whole Young Living facial. Like you'll have a whole bunch of Young Living like products for your skin that you get to use in this class. So when
Wow,
we
cool.
post this in the Company of Angels and wherever else we post this, you can take different parts of it. You can do facial beauty harmonics, which I highly recommend. That is so much fun. But also she brings all the products and you get to use them all. And that's
What's the date on that, Tina?
my mom has it. Let me see if I wrote it down correctly. Let's see, I do have it. Let's see. September. What did I put it down as a VRT? Oops. Let's see. I don't know what I named it to search it, you know.
That's okay. You're gonna post it on Facebook,
Yeah.
yes.
I know that I put it in here, dang it though. Is it the 5th? No. Huh. Oh, here it is, harmonic training. So I called it harmonic training. And then it's also the neuroendocrine centers and or chakras, which I'm so excited about. By the way, you can do the other higher frequency tuning forks if you've had these other classes. So that's why, one of the reasons why I'm taking it. But it's the September 8th is the first day, I believe. 8th, wait, 7th, 8th, September 8th. Yeah, September 8th. And we'll have the whole description of the class and all the breakdowns so people can take it. This is going to be a fun class. This isn't going to be too complicated, but it'll blow your mind and be super fun. And when you take these classes, you get certified hours in them, which is so fun, you know, to have your, you know, harmonic training.
Nothing will blow your mind. No, that's
bad
bad language.
I should say that differently. Sorry, conscious language will expand your mind.
There you
How about
go.
that? That's what I mean when I'm saying I'm blowing it up into an expansion.
Okay.
That's what I mean. Not blow up your mind. No. We don't want that. Yeah, it's incredible and it's so much fun and it's such a healing experience. And my mom has a beautiful place that feels like a spa. So yeah, it's gonna be good. So yeah, I hope you guys can come.
Tina, honey, Julia was just sharing that her whole family, I believe you mean your whole family, Julia. They all put the CBD tins in their pockets, purses, bags, you know,
Those
backpacks.
tins are fabulous.
I know, right? Sorry,
Yeah,
didn't mean to
those
change your
tins.
subject.
No, it's fine. I love that. I love that. The 10 pack. Yes. Tina, where can I find the slides for this class tonight? Christy? Christy Hollis. Bug her in Messenger.
I will post everything on While Home Sweet Home and then figure out how to share it to Company of Angels because I'm not quite sure yet how I can, but I will try. And
I think if you share it to Wild Simplified, I can share it to
okay. I'm
Yeah.
struggling with my Facebook. I'm not super handy.
the settings. Yeah.
Facebook. I'm sorry. I'm still learning.
But you can find her on Facebook Messenger too. If yeah.
While Home Sweet Home.
And actually this recording will be available. So you'll have the whole thing in this class recording that sometimes I like to watch these Zoom call recordings. You guys do that ever? It's nice. You can just like, I don't know, you could be like cooking food or whatever and just be listening to the class. It's so much fun. I love learning that way.
And I always try to post when I post the class, I try to post any materials that we talked about in the class. I always try to put that in the description so you guys can have PDFs or websites or whatever we talked about on the side.
Thank you for that,
Thank
Christine.
you,
Thank you for
Christy. That's
organizing
awesome.
all of that. So good. Well, great seeing all of you. I think we're pretty much done.
Yay.
Yeah.
This
Fun
is
class.
now I'm
So
not-
nice to see all your faces, you guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, I miss you
Nice
guys
to see
so
everybody.
much.
See you at convention. Who's coming to convention?
Woo woo.
Yeah.
I can't wait.
We're gonna have
Too
fun.
much fun.
Woo.
I choose never to miss that.
Yeah, that's gonna be fun. This is my first one, so I'm excited.
Yes.
We're excited
Right
to
on,
have
girl.
you there, Christy.
Can't wait.
Thank you.
Yoo-hoo. All right.
I'm
Good night,
sending out an
everyone.
email to the ones who are coming who have responded to me. If you haven't responded to me that you're coming to convention, please do so because I have an email going out. We're planning our luncheon, so
Yes.
make sure you
excited.
get on board with us.
Yeah, come get a free lunch and a wonderful time.
Good. Well, thank you, everybody. We'll see you
Thank
next
you.
week with a new topic.
Yay.
Bye,
Yay.
girls. It's been great.
Class was great. I
Thanks for
enjoyed
having
it.
us.
Love you all. Take
Bye.
care.
Bye.
Enjoyed the class today, Tina.
Good job, Gia.